Hi friends and welcome. Well, today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN, the VPN that we used during the Ultimate World Cruise.
Yes, well, welcome back. And today's video is, we're going to show you a little bit of what it's been like transitioning back to the real world.
It's been 1 month now.
Yes, it has. And so now we don't want you to think that this means we're not releasing other content related to the World Cruise. We still have Spain and France and Scandinavia and all kinds of places, that we're still releasing, and we're still in the editing process of all that. So we appreciate you continuing to watch. But we hope you enjoy today as we talk a little bit about, it's been a little bit of a rough transition coming back into the real world.
Surprisingly so.
Yes, it has. So.
Well, welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life back in the real world from the ultimate 9-month trip around the world. Well, Nancy, how's it been so far transitioning back to the real world?
Well, we've certainly had a few challenges, and one of them was outdoors, our yard. We did have lawn care taken care of while we were away, and we had a wonderful house sitter. We didn't ask her to do any yard work or gardening work, and so some of the weeds in our garden, they were well over my head.
Right, because the lawn care just mowed the yard. It didn't,
right.
They didn't take care of flower beds and stuff. Those weeds were absolutely insane. They took our entire back patio, and it was just crazy. It was a little daunting, but luckily I found a company that sends out college students, and they go weed for money, and they spent about 6 hours pulling weeds, and honestly, everything looks great now.
It looks wonderful.
Yeah, when we first saw it, it was like, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to get this done? And fortunately, we were able to do that. You said something really, I think, insightful. Coming back from a world cruise like this, you have to look at expenses like we're going to talk about here, like having your yard fixed up and taken care of as part of the cost of the trip.
But I really feel like we do, that these were expenses maybe we didn't plan ahead of time, but I do feel like these are expenses related to having gone on the world cruise, because if we hadn't I'd have been weeding the yard myself.
Yeah, well, something else we did coming back that was really good was we have been reconnecting with family, spending time with the grandkids.
For sure.
We spent time with our son and his wife. They came over for a whole weekend. We have 3 grandchildren here locally, and our daughter and her husband. So that's been really good. Now our daughter in Texas, we still had to connect virtually with her until we can get down there, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. But luckily, one thing that has worked well since we've been home is our internet.
Oh, yes, it really has. It's been a great way to connect with family. And speaking of internet, that brings us to today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN.
Yeah, so we used, and many of you may have saw in a previous video, we used Surfshark on the Ultimate World Cruise all around the world. And it allowed us 2 things, security, and it allowed us to virtually relocate our computers back to the United States. There were a lot of websites we had to do, especially running our business, that did not allow me to do that unless we were using a VPN like Surfshark. And now coming back, we've had people say, well, are you using a VPN now that you're sitting back in Michigan? Absolutely. And the reason is, I love my Kansas City Chiefs. We're both, born and raised in Kansas and lifelong Kansas City Chiefs fans. And sometimes you can't get those games here locally in Michigan because they're out of market. Well, with Surfshark, I can relocate my computer back to Kansas City. And one of the great things about Surfshark is they actually have servers in Kansas City. So I can virtually relocate my computer right back with the click of a button. It looks like to the entire world my computer's sitting in Kansas City, and I can watch my Kansas City Chiefs beat up all your other teams out there.
And you are a happy camper with
I
that.
am.
Friends, go to surfshark.com/livingphase or scan that QR code, and when you sign up for Surfshark VPN, you will get an additional 4 months for free.
Well, back to the other things that are going on. The internet was working great, but one of the things that wasn't is our water system in the house.
That's probably been one of the most frustrating things.
Yeah, so what happened is and it took me 3 days to diagnose this and figure out what was going on with it. And if you guys haven't figured that out about me. I'm really kind of a do-it-yourselfer.
Right.
You know?
And maybe we should tell them a little bit too. We live out in the country, so we have a well system and got a lot of hard water, so we need a water softener and all.
Right, right. So, and I have a triple filter system on the well, all this, but we kept getting this black residue that was clogging up all our sinks, our showers, and it was only on the hot water side. And I'm just scratching my head and trying to figure it out. And finally, Mr. Do-It-Yourselfer, I broke down and called a plumber.
Right. Well, because we had actually replaced the hot water heater right before going on the world cruise, because that was quite old for the life expectancy of a hot water heater, and we didn't want our house sitter having any issues with it.
Right, and here we come back and have no hot water because all the sinks are clogged. Well, the plumber came out, looked at it, I showed them the residue, and they kind of looked at it, they talked a while, and they go, well, do you have a water softener? I said, yes, we do. And they said, well, what we think is your water softener is failing, and this is the residue coming out of, it's the media from within the water softener spewing out into the system. It's collecting in your hot water tank, and then when you turn on the hot water, it's stirring it up and putting it through and blocking everything. So I ended up buying a new water softener, installing it, and so far, knock on wood, it seems like that has fixed the problem. But that has taken 5 days of work to diagnose, fix it, get the water softener here, get it replaced, flush the system. So that is something we never expected, to take 5 days coming back to do something like that. So.
Right. We had a hornet's nest.
Oh, we had a big hornet's nest. And we don't mean like proverbially, we mean we really had a big hornet's nest. We came and looked on the side of our house, and they had built this massive nest on the side of our house after being gone, for 9 months.
Thank you for spraying it, by the way. I appreciate you for doing
luckily
that.
We've dealt with that here in the country before, and so we are fortunate that we know how to get rid of those, and there was no issues with that. Well, one of the other things that we've been doing is visiting family. We're really trying to catch up.
I miss those grandbabies horribly. So three of the 4 grandbabies live here in Michigan. They live about 5 minutes from our house. We stopped and saw them before we even got home. But our other grandbaby and soon to be is down in Texas. So we did plan a trip to Texas. We went down there for 10 days to visit them.
Right. So, a week after getting back from a 9-month travel, we got on an airplane again and headed down to Texas. And then while we're down there, our daughter, her husband, they own a small farm. He also is an engineer for a company down there. But we spent a week working on the farm.
They've got cows and lots of sheep,
chickens.
and an infinite number of chickens, poultry, ducks, geese.
Yeah, exactly. So we worked on their farm for a week, helped them lend a hand, help them get caught up on things, and do a little bit of remodeling in some areas.
And I got to babysit.
And you babysat, and you hugged the grandbaby and
I did.
Gave him lots of attention. So now he's doing really well. Well, while we were in Texas, we didn't just work on their farm. We had a really nice visit.
We did. We took a day off and drove to Fort Worth, which is about 45 minutes from our daughter's home. And we saw one of our couple friends that sat at our dining room table, and we took an excursion with them.
Yeah,
we took a tour with them.
That's right. We were laughing. It's like, oh, who planned today's shore excursion? Yeah. But we actually went to TX Distillery, and it is a gorgeous property.
It is wonderful. It's so beautiful. It's just outside of the downtown, and when you are there, the property was built on an old golf resort. And it has views straight down to the downtown that are just phenomenal. But we had an excellent guide. We got a wonderful tour of the distillery. They did a lovely tasting and then took us to the bar area. But one of the things that they do that's really unique is on their caps, they have companies that make the boots and do the stitching and things.
Get this focused in here if we can. There we go. Like there.
They give the TX Distillery, they give them the scraps of fabric or the leather that they don't use on the boots, and they put the leather onto these bottle caps, and they're all different colors. It's really pretty.
Just random,
yeah.
And they've made collages out of them, and so TX is very famous for that, and that was a lot of fun. And
but the whiskey was good. good.
It was really good. In fact, the one I just showed you, here I'll grab it again. This is actually their TX blended whiskey. This has won several different awards for them. Let me make sure I get it up there. And we're not affiliated with them or anything of that nature, but it was just a very good whiskey, and we enjoyed it a lot. And the other thing that they did at the bar, they did an old-fashioned flight. And so one of our favorite drinks, and probably the favorite drink of the Ultimate World Cruise, was the Old Fashioned. And they did 4 different Old Fashions in small servings that was excellent, just absolutely excellent.
Old-fashioned, and you'll have to look at the picture because I can't remember them all, but they were all delicious.
So we finished up at TX Distillery, and then we went, and we're in Texas, so we had to, you know how much we love barbecue.
So we went to Heim Barbecue. Now, at Heim Barbecue, we got there. There weren't a lot of people there, and I will say that the barbecue was very average. It was good. It wasn't great barbecue, so...
Well, yeah, we had been to Heim before on a previous trip, and it was absolutely excellent, fantastic barbecue. And I certainly hope they're not falling off a little bit here. You know, please leave us a comment if you've been to Heim or if you've been here, you know, very recently. We'd like to hear how they're doing now. It was awful strange because it used to be there'd be a line down the block to get in Heim, and we walked right in and got a table. So that was kind of a little bit of a warning bell for us. And again, I don't want to say the food was bad.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it was good, but it wasn't great barbecue.
But you know, when you're Kansas City Barbecue Society judges and you eat barbecue all over the world,
and Texas barbecue,
is really well known, especially brisket. You know, we were expecting just like, you know, top stuff here, like Franklin and down in Austin, and it was just okay. So, but you know what? The most important thing is we had a great meal with friends.
That is right. It was so nice to see them again, even though it had only been 2 weeks.
That's right. Yeah, and we're looking forward to continuing up those relationships with our friends from the Ultimate World Cruise as we go on. So,
well, when we got back, there were still things that we needed to do. Now we had unpacked right away. There was just little bits of organizing that needed to be taken care of. We actually had a tree that had fallen in the yard.
I had to chainsaw that and get it. It's actually, we had 2 trees that had fallen in the yard, so got those cleaned up. But really, a couple of the very big things that we had to do was we had to buy cars. You know, we sold our cars when we went on the Ultimate World Cruise. We knew this was an expense that we would have when we got back. So we had to go through the process of finding cars, negotiating with car dealers, buying cars, you know, trying to figure out what cars we even wanted. You know, we knew you wanted one that you could carry the grandkids around in.
Right. I got the Kia Telluride.
That's right.
And we actually planned that while we were on the cruise ship. And so we had done the negotiating there. So that
remotely.
Yeah. So that car was waiting for us the day after we got back from the World Cruise.
Right, we picked that one up, and then we still had to pick what car I was going to get, and we weren't quite sure yet. Now, we already know one of the next adventures we're going to have in our phase 2 of life is we're going to get a RV. You know, we've had a small RV in the past with our kids. We absolutely loved it. We want to get back into that lifestyle again and just travel the United States and hopefully take all of you along with us. But that means we need a vehicle to tow behind that RV. So we had to look at what the requirements were and how to do that. And in fact, when we get to that stage where we're buying the RV, we'll do a whole video showing how we pick that and what requirements we have. But I ended up getting a GMC Canyon, a mid-sized truck, and the reason is because it is towable behind an RV. So I had to go and negotiate that, and you know, that took several days, and there were things like recalls on it, and you know, it actually ended up taking almost a week to get that car. That truck, and you know, so that just took more and more time. I think what you're picking up here is things have taken a lot more time coming back. It hasn't really been for us just come back, unpack the suitcase, and go right back into life.
Right. Well, and then have our own business, as you know, our catering business, and you've been busy with that as well.
Right. There's certain things that we put off being gone for 9 months. There's annual paperwork we have to do. We have to re-register with the federal government for different contracts that we get as a caterer, supplying different government agencies, different forms we have to file with the state of Michigan and the health department.
We cater to businesses, so we're not like a Jimmy John's that's bringing you a sandwich to your home, that we're a business-to-business operation.
Right, so there's a lot of paperwork that goes along with that. So we've been catching up on that, and then working with our crew and our general manager. Unfortunately, the business is still running really well, and they're doing a great job
so
there.
Grateful to all of them.
But it really comes down to, we have been just so much busier than we ever anticipated, coming back from 9 months being away. And I think that's the lesson of this video for everybody.
That is so true. Well, the other thing is, as the World Cruise went on, I felt worse and worse. And so I did schedule doctor's appointments while we were on the World Cruise so I could go to them as soon as we got home. And so I've been to visit several doctors. I have had my knees x-rayed. They say they say severe bone on bone.
You just
I'm
looked and said,
at.
you're a candidate for a knee replacement.
Because honestly, friends, to walk really doesn't hurt. I do feel like I'm walking slower, but I don't hurt a lot when I walk. But going up and down stairs, standing up from a seated position, like to sit down on the toilet, that's when it really is uncomfortable. And now I'm having some hip pain, and I'm just so frustrated. I know I've got the degenerative disc disease in my back, so I don't know if that's what's causing my hip pain. I don't know. I'm trying to get it all sorted out. I had one injection in one knee. They wanted to try a more natural, they call it viscose something or t'other.
That's the technical term, viscose something or other.
Yeah. Anyway, that's been about 3 weeks ago now. It hasn't. I don't have any improvement.
Yeah, you're going to probably have to go with steroids.
Right. That'll be the next thing that they'll try.
To try to put off that knee replacement.
Right. I mean, I really don't, because it bothers me because I walk and it really doesn't hurt. So, any suggestions that you all have, put them in the comments below, because I'm open to anything and everything.
Right, so you've probably had 3 or 4 doctor's appointments since we've been back, trying to get yourself, get the Bionic Woman rebuilt here before, because we've got Egypt coming up in January.
To do. I know.
You can see how busy we are. So, but I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. You're not putting it off. You're diving right into it, and it's one of those things that we knew we'd have to do coming back from a world trip like we took.
The final thing I want to mention is, you guys have asked this question a number of times, and it's, did we gain weight during the 9 months we were on the cruise? And the answer is yes. I put on 23 pounds. I wish I hadn't, but I had.
And I put on about the same. The interesting thing about this was, we really maintained our weight pretty well, I'd say up to about halfway to maybe a little past halfway on the cruise. We really hadn't gained hardly any weight at that point. And I don't know if something clicked. We thought, oh, we're kind of getting to the end of the cruise. I don't know if it was when we went to port, and we ate off ship more. We were out of our routine. I'm not sure what it was, but the weight gain happened in the latter half of the cruise.
It did, and I'm surprised, because I feel like we walked a lot more in the latter half of the cruise, but we were eating off of the ship more, for one thing, for multiple meals a day usually, and I think that can make a difference.
I think it is. I think we felt like, as we're getting to the end of the cruise, I think we were almost celebrating a little more. Not celebrating that the cruise was over, but just trying to capture every moment with our friends, knowing that it's coming to an end, and we were probably splurging a lot more too. So here's a little warning. If you're on a long trip like this, you can let yourself get out of hand a little bit as you get toward the end, and then that can certainly have repercussions at the end. Well, but we're certainly doing something about it.
We are. So we had come home on a Tuesday. On Thursday, I had joined Weight Watchers already, and have now lost 16 of those pounds in the first month. So I have been really hyper-focused and working on eating healthy, eating the right things, and in right quantities too.
Yep. And I've lost about 9, so you're winning. High five. And we're really focused on that, trying to get back into an eating routine, and not have our own serving us in the main dining room every night. It's certainly getting back to a more normal routine.
You have to put up with my cooking now.
No, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You're doing a great job cooking healthy for us, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, so friends, I mean, let's just kind of wrap things up here, that there's just a lot that can pile up for 9 months when you're away from home.
Yeah, it can. So this is something you need to plan for. If you're going to take a long trip, 4 months, 5 months, 9 months, a year, understand that there's a lot that you may not anticipate that can happen while you're gone. And then when you get back to your home, and try to get into that routine, it certainly can take weeks and weeks to finish up all those things and catch up to more of a normal routine. Don't expect to just get off the ship and step back into real life.
Well, once again, we want to thank Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's video. And as a reminder, if you scan the QR code or click on the link in the description below, by using those links when you sign up for Surfshark VPN, you're going to get 4 additional months free. So thank you so much, Surfshark.
Yeah, thank you, Surfshark. Well, thanks everyone for watching, and we hope you have a beautiful day. And don't forget, we've got lots more Ultimate World Cruise content coming up as we go through Spain and France and Scandinavia. So be sure to tune in for those.
Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.